You know, one of the most exciting things about the photography show and the video show this year is the number of new cameras, new camera systems that visitors, that I frankly can get my hands on here. I'm here with Mike from Panasonic, who's got, again, another new camera, really excited. We're going to have a bit of a deep dive into it. We're going to chat some numbers and find out a lot more about the S-Series, new from Panasonic. First of all, S-Series, where does it fit into Panasonic's broader offer?
It sits very much at the high end. I mean, we've traditionally been known as a micro four thirds camera, so this is our first full frame sensor camera that we bring into the marketplace. And given the price point of that, it means that it will sit at the high end of our product range.
Okay, so we've got a full frame mirrorless camera here. So we've got the S1 and the S1R. Quickly chat us through the differences between those.
So fundamentally, they're built around the same chassis. The S1 will give you a 24 megapixel full frame sensor. The S1R will give you a 47 megapixel full frame sensor. So it's offering a much different requirement, different level of resolution for the requirements of the photographer.
Sure, okay, so we're talking about megapixels and sensors there. You've also got a super high res mode on these as well. We were just chatting about that.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Tell me more.
So we have the high res mode, which means that the camera will take multiple exposures within a single frame and composite them together. So in the S1 you'll get an 86 megapixel frame, and out of the S1R you can get a 186 megapixel frame. So it's offering a massive amount of resolution to the users.
And that's going to be for whom? For landscape photographers, architecture photographers?
Commercial photographers, anybody who needs that high resolution because they have demand for a high resolution output. I mean, there's always the limitations. Because it's 8 individual frames that are composited together, you do sometimes get a little bit of movement. Yeah. So we've developed a new mode in there which will help compensate for any movement in natural substances like leaves and trees if you're shooting landscape. Sure.
And that's just moving the image sensor very, very subtly. Yeah. And that's quite a fast exposure time. You're talking about changes between frames there, but that's still quite quick.
Yeah, it is. I mean, how it's achieved is through using the movement of the in-body image stabilization. Right. And what it does, it has a very subtle shift on a pixel by pixel level almost to enable you to capture the 8 frames. So if you set your shutter speed to be very fast, it will then mimic that and just take 8 frames in sequence. So actually it wouldn't be much different to your standard shooting. Sure.
Let's just take a quick look at the body here. We'll come on to the lenses in a moment, but it's very much the classic DSLR styling that we're coming to know and love here. This screen is an articulated screen, yeah?
It is, yeah. So it's a 3-way tilt, because what we're trying to achieve with this is actually make sure that the user is still within line of the lens. So they're having that natural interaction with the camera as they would using a viewfinder.
Okay, before we talk lenses, I want to talk video. Is this going to be as much of a plus for videographers as the GH ranges, for example?
Yeah, I mean, we have the 2 particular models. So the S1 is much more of the hybrid model and will have an improved video functionality because we're offering a paid-for firmware upgrade that will come at a later stage. Okay. Both of the S1 and the S1R will give you 4K recording at up to 60 frames a second. Okay. Both of them will offer you 4K 30 frames a second at virtually the full size of the sensor with only a minor crop in. Right. When it gets to 60 frames a second, then it does give you a crop into an APS-C size.
Sure, but having access to that full frame at 4K, I think, is that's really interesting. Let's talk about lenses then, though, because what you're doing with this alliance is quite unique, and I think hopefully opens up some new opportunities for photographers as well.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean, we've launched with 3 particular lenses. So we've got our 24-105 f4, we have our 70-200 f4, we have our 50-1.4, which is considered to be our reference lens, the default as to how good a resolution we can make. What Sigma and Alliance bring to the party is they bring their range of lenses, all mount the common L mount, which means that we have a lot more flexibility, and it means that by the end of 2020 there'll be over 40 lenses as part of the L mount roadmap.
Sure. That's plenty for most photographers, I think, and that's always going to be a concern when you are switching systems. Is the rest of the range going to be there to support me in the different types of photography that I'm going to need to do? But it sounds like you got that covered. Prices, what is the cash that I'm going to need to splash for an S1 or an S1R, or both? Hey.
If you can afford both, even better. The S1 will set you back about $2,100, and the S1R is the higher resolution and higher value model is about $3,200.
It's proper money.
Yeah.
but it's a proper camera, and I think that's the point to make, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's designed for photographers. We've not compromised on terms of the grip, the handling. When you look at the buttons on the back, everything is within that sweep of the thumb. So we've designed it really with the user in mind. And one of the big differentials from a lot of the other mirrorless cameras on the market today is the fact that we have the dual memory card slot in there as well, which means that you can have an XQD slot and an SD slot as well. So you've always got that ability for backup, which is what a Pro really requires.
Listen, Mike, thank you very much for letting us go in a bit of a deep dive here with the S1. Really interesting camera, I'm sure you'll agree. Look forward to seeing the work that some of your ambassadors and photographers out there in the field are going to be able to make happen with this. Thanks a lot, Mike.
No worries, David. Thank you very much.
Cheers.